Today we are going to be making a dot pot, and why it's called a dot pot is because of all these different balls of clay that you see on the outside. They can be larger and can be smaller. You can see that some are a little bit longer in length, so they can be all different shapes, but this is what forms your dot pot. Inside your dot pot, it's nice and smooth. So it looks smooth on the inside, texture on the outside of the dots, and if you look closely at the lip too is not flat. It takes the shape of all the different dots of clay that you have made to form your clay bowl. So here we go. This is what you're going to need. Here is your form, and it's just a plastic bowl. I use this. You need a barrier, and the barrier is going to be just a piece of plastic. And you want to put the barrier inside your bowl like this. Just kind of press it down so it fills up your bowl. You want it to make sure it goes over the edges. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to take a piece of clay, and let's just take off a chunk, and you want a good size chunk, like about this size. We want to roll it into a ball. And then I start to take that ball of clay, and then I want to kind of smoosh it a little bit, and I'm flattening it out, but I don't want to totally flatten it out. I don't want to make it too thin, because we're going to be working our clay to smooth out the inside, and if you make it too thin, you'll have nothing to work with. So this is about right. It's about the width of my pinky. You can kind of see that. The first thing I do is I set it in the middle, right in the center of my clay. Or in my bowl, I should say. Then you start taking pieces, and you have to do this fairly quickly, because if you don't do it quickly, it's going to dry, and then this process won't work for you. So take balls of clay and roll them. They do not need to be perfect, and you start sticking them in your bowl around it. Kind of looks like a flower at first. And I just go like this, and I keep on rolling them. Make sure that the plastic doesn't get in between the balls of clay, because if it does, then it won't let those pieces of clay attach. So I'm going around and around, kind of flattening out my plastic, and I work really fast. Ooh, that's a big one, but that's all right. And I just keep on pulling off pieces. Now you can see I'm really working fast. Oh, there's another large one. It's okay to be a little bit larger, especially on the bottom, because you don't see them that much anyway. So I'm going around filling this up. So now they're all snug in there. You can see they're snug in there, but I still have to build up onto my sides. So that's my next step. So I'm going to put another layer in, and I'm going to stick them in there. If I want some small ones, I can do that, but sometimes I make them like a pop can, so it looks kind of like that. So it's still got the thickness. Oh, that's maybe a little bit too much thickness. So I can start making some designs, different designs if I want. Sticking them in there, and I stick them right next to each other. They are leaning against the wall of the plastic bowl. They're not standing independently. They're right against the wall. I am not pressing them down at this point. They still look like balls of clay, but I work fairly fast. The trick is not to press them in. I'm just laying them in there, kind of randomly working. I'm going to get this done. Moving my bowl around, making sure that there's no plastic in it. Keep on building up. You can make yours smaller than I'm making them. I'm just trying to hurry so this video doesn't take too long, because I know that can be kind of boring to watch. So here we go. So we're building this up. You can see I'm coming around the end here, and I can go up one more layer, but I don't want to get higher than the edge of my bowl, because then it's going to make a really funny edge and it won't be very strong. So I'm going to just go around and add now another layer on top, but I'm not going above the bowl. It barely sticks above the bowl. So I'm working this in. Going around the piece, making sure my plastic, like I said before, doesn't get in the way. I'm gonna need a little more clay here. When I get this done, almost done here, rolling them out. Now I'm almost done. I keep on kind of turning my bowl around because I want to make sure, and if you have a big gap, it is no big deal. All you have to do is stick a little piece of clay in there while we're smoothing it out. All right. I got about 3 left to do. Whoop, that's too big. I don't want that big at the top. Nestle that in there. And one more. Okay, so now let's look at this. See how they don't go above the plastic, really? They're inside, they're rested against the wall of my bowl, my plastic bowl. And so you have your whole bowl like this, and it looks like it has all these balls of clay now inside. Now remember I said it was smooth inside. So now what we're gonna do is take your plastic, and I like to hold it on this side. And I take it, and I sometimes will use my thumb. I do not press on my edge, because otherwise if I press on my edge, it's gonna make it too thin. So I go right below the edge, and I start to smoosh it. And what I'm doing is I'm smooshing out my clay, and I'm getting these all smooshed and making it nice and smooth. Now when I make it smooth, the clay might want to move around a little bit, so that's why I hold on to the plastic. And I'm getting rid of all my cracks. And I just keep on filling it in. If you press too much or too hard and keep on working it too much, you're going to lose your texture on the outside. But yet you have to make them stick together. So there is, you'll see that there's a fine line. Now I'm just smoothing this out. I'm going to this side now. Getting that all smooth. And on the top row here, I tend to go like this and get those, so otherwise those cracks will stay there, and they will keep on cracking down. So I'm moving the clay sideways. And now I'm going around. Now, if I were to say, oh yeah, that looks good, it actually doesn't, because there's some really sharp edges that will be very sharp when they're fired. So I want you to take time and make it nice and smooth on the inside. Take your time, it's well worth it. This is where your craftsmanship is very important. So I get that done. Now that's nice and smooth. If you can look inside, there should be no pieces of sharp clay sticking up. You should see no more cracks or no more seams, nothing between this. And I'm going to peel this off. Whoops. Take it out of its form. And I'm going to show you what it looks like. So I took it out of the form, taking the plastic off, and then we're going to write your initials down here. But then you can see, and we're just going to, you can see this beautiful bowl when it's done. Sometimes if you get those little things, you can just fix those really easy. But this beautiful piece of art, I'm going to now, when it's drying, I'm going to stick it back in here. We're going to let it sit for a day before I pull it out. totally out of the form because I don't want to move it around a lot. And that is your dot pot. You have a great time making them. They're so much fun.